And welcome everyone to episode 37 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host and freelance letterer at Shonen Jump, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
Doing pretty good. As everybody knows, English letterer for manga like Dragon Ball Super, Kaijin Raid, and many more. I did a head count the other day where it hit me. I'm pretty close to having worked on 200 volumes of manga, which is
dear God.
I mean, when you think about it that way, it's like twice the length of One Piece. Is as much manga that I've worked on.
Because when you're saying volumes, you mean like actual tankobons and stuff like that, like not the individual chapters. Dear God.
Yeah. 200. Or it's like 170-ish, something like that. So I'll hit proper 200 probably sometime next year.
That's insane.
When I laid it out like that, I'm like, oh my God, that is a lot.
Now, do they give you the actual physical copies so you can have like a little library of this is my work?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I've had to buy some stuff. Every publisher kind of has their own little process for it, but I would say I own the overwhelming majority of stuff that I've worked on. Maybe all of it. I don't remember if I'm missing anything, but it as you can imagine, it sort of became a little cumbersome to be like, all right, what do I have? What don't I have? Like, I stopped keeping track at some point.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, even worse. I get shipped the physical copies of the Japanese version for some stuff, which is all just like, which is like good for reference. But those all just like stack up in like a box in my attic. So it's like, and then I get sent 2 copies of some stuff. To some publishers just do that.
Oh,
and I'm like, well, I don't need to, but I mean, it's nice, but so my attic is just a bunch of books.
It'll make for a good yard sale someday.
Oh yeah.
Man, talk about multiples and confusion, maybe. I'm struggling for a segue, but anyway, let's get to it with chapter 181. As we have we're just going to say this constantly, just a fun set of chapters. It feels like
so good.
It feels like it's just going to be that way for a while. But yes, chapter 181, yes. Supersonic Duck Quiz, where we get Sanji and a bear playing cards.
Yeah. Even now, I don't understand the quiz part of the chapter title.
Oh, you don't? It's the Baroque Works are taking the quiz about which one's Vivi.
Oh, okay, yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. The one bit of art I love about this is the fact that the bench is bending under the bear.
That is so good. Yeah, he's a big boy.
Yep. So, all right, time for even more just examples of how big this war is. As a dust cloud is building up over the horizon as the rebels go across the desert, and Alubarna is within sight, 9 miles to the south, 30 minutes away, and storm the city. Don't let them into the city. It's a big thing, and we start getting more of how Alubarna is set up.
Oh, I love that shot of Chaka. Just don't let them set foot in the city, and you just all of these guys in the background. Like you really, and then again, just like Koza at the front, at the top of the page, where he's just like, "Get ready, men," and you just. There's so much drawing. I'm sitting here in awe of like Oda has committed to depicting this war of 2 million men.
Mm-hmm. And he's smart about it though, because the military uniforms and the way they're set up, it's like, okay, these work. We can kind of recreate these pretty quickly.
Yeah, and you can mostly tell who's who. I have a little comment to make about that once we get to it, but until then we kind of have the scene of the Baroque Works folks just kind of like, all right, well, just as Bon Clay says it, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah, it's really funny. It's just like, well, the rebels are almost here, and we just need to keep Vivi away from the rebels. So
yeah, that's kind of their goal.
If they show up, we'll kill them. If they don't, well, we don't have to worry about it because everything's set in motion. They're done. Again, I love how we have this other little map here showing like how the gate systems are worked out for Alubarna. It gets more is said about it as time goes on.
Mm-hmm.
They got Mr. 4 on lookout.
And he's speaking so slow. And
also, over the course of like
Christmas,
7 panels, they're here. They're coming. This like it's so out of Zootopia.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
But yes, Miss Merry Christmas grabs it, the binoculars, looks through, it's like, okay, we just need to find Vivi and kill her. And they're like, oh crap, they're on ducks. There's 6 of them and they're hidden. Like they've disguised themselves. We have no idea which one she is.
They were smart about this.
Yeah, that planning ahead. It's like, man, they really did think ahead about what it might be. And I was struggling to remember which one was Vivi. Like, obviously you can tell which one's
I didn't remember
Usopp.
either. Yeah. Yeah, you get that close-up where they all have their hoods on. You just see Usopp's nose peeking out from the front of one.
I love this Bon Clay. It's like he's kind of reacting the most. It's like, it's so iffy.
Iffy, yeah. Then we have a little tease as to what Mr. 4 is about, you know, because Miss Merry Christmas is like, get him, and then he shoots a baseball out of a cannon, and then it lands near him, and they're like, no, don't go near it.
It explodes, and it's like, all right. I mean, it's kind of funny that he's the slow one, but he's the first one to attack.
Yeah.
Has that range. But yeah, two of them break off, head towards the south gate.
Or we have like this little mind game going on here. Like, they're trying to figure out which one's Vivi, and it's like, oh, they're going south, so that must be Vivi. I love the sequence of them trying to be like, which one is which?
And we got Usopp attacking Mr. 1 with the killer Firestar. Does really nothing, but two more of them break away towards the west gate, and they're going to go after that one. And then the final two run over Mr. 2 Bon Clay.
Just right through.
And we learned from Miss Doublefinger that 3 of Alubarna's 5 gates are accessible from the west. Their plan is to split up and head for those gates, but it doesn't make any difference. We'll eliminate them inside the city. The Duck Squadron makes their way inside, and we have our setup where 2 ducks versus Bon Clay, 2 ducks versus Mr. 1 and Miss Doublefinger, and 2 ducks against the Mr. 4 and Miss Merry Christmas. And I legit forgot about this play.
Me too.
Where all of a sudden you see another duck step out, and it's Vivi.
When I first read this, I thought, because there's that page a couple pages ago where, you know, there's 2 coming up the steps, and it's like, you know, oh, that's the Supersonic Duck Squadron, let them in. And I was like, okay, that must be Vivi and somebody else who actually managed to get in the city.
Yeah.
Though I guess they all got in, but, you know, they're the ones who got in without having to encounter any Baroque Works members. But no, the Straw Hats were all bait for Vivi.
Yeah, they did a ridiculous maneuver where we get this wonderful 2-page spread of all of them going too bad, wrong.
Everybody's
which includes eyelashes.
Yes, it got the little camel sound effect at the background.
I also love that we have Nami with her classic like wink with the tongue out.
It's so good.
That's so her.
I love Mr. 2 Bon Clay, you know, oh, you're that guy from before. It's like Usopp's first reaction, like he's just screaming with eyelashes. Sorry.
It's like a camel? What the? I also love this matchup. We got Usopp and Eyelashes versus Mr. 2.
Yep.
Zoro and Nami versus Mr. 1 and Miss Doublefinger, where she's already commanding. Is like, all right, get it over with.
Yep.
And Sanji and Chopper versus Miss Merry Christmas and Mr. 4. Matchups you might not expect, honestly.
Yeah, that's definitely really weird. And then the chapter ends with this shot of, you know, Vivi like going to try to stop the rebels. Otherwise, our efforts will have been for nothing.
Yeah, it's a dang good chapter. Like,
yeah, we're building up tension here.
Mm-hmm. It's a great set of mind games where you see again the Straw Hats finding ways to outmaneuver Baroque Works.
I wonder who came up with this plan, because it's so smart, which is and the fact that it mostly works is so uncharacteristic of the Straw Hats.
I know. Honestly, Zoro's been pretty good about these plans, so I almost wonder if it was his idea. Mm-hmm. He's good for this kind of subterfuge or playing into knowing what the enemy's going to do. Yeah. And going from there. And as we'll see later in the chapter, we need these big wins because there's a lot of small losses and like ways that they can just Oda's going to play with us where it's like, we did it. Nope.
Yeah, it's just going to keep building and building. But before that, you know, we got to talk about this SBS section here.
Yes.
Where Oda, I didn't realize that the Supersonic Duck Squadron, they all have names. And I want to read these out because they are just so incredible. So we have that panel when they're first introduced. So from left to right, we have Cowboy, Bourbon Jr., Karoo in the center, or Karoo, then Centaur, and Hikoichi. And then the top 2 are Stomp and Ivan X.
Those names are awesome.
They are incredible. And Oda, he comments that he thought that revealing the names might confuse people, so we just didn't. Which, you know, I understand. In the moment, you don't necessarily need to reveal their names, but I love that they have them and that they're just so good.
Yeah.
They sound kind of like Japanese horse racing names almost.
You know, that would make sense, but man, Bourbon Jr.'s a good name.
Yeah, that's a great one.
And that's why we love the SBS. It might be silly most of the time, but when you get information, it's good information.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, let's get to chapter 182, Roar, where we got our next cover series.
Yeah.
And I have no idea who it's about at this point. I'm like, I saw this, like, okay.
It's titled Escapee, and we just have this little shadow. Like to me, it kind of looks like almost looks like a crab or a spider.
Yeah, I figure if people looked at it for long enough, they could probably figure out who it is. Obviously, we get to see it right away thanks to reading a chunk of 5. But upon first look, it's like, I wonder how many people figured it out right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, I think that somebody escaping from a marine ship, it could only be so many, but it's. I guess we'll find out on the next chapter.
Yeah, although honestly, we'll find it. Well, okay, well, I'll just go ahead and reveal it so I can say who it actually could be to throw people off. It's Hachi, obviously, and you can see the arms and whatnot. But I just realized it also could have been Captain Kuro with his claws and split out.
It could have been. Oh, that's.
I bet that. I wonder if that was the debate, whether it was going to be about Kuro, even though one of his claws were already broken off. But just make it work.
In that sense, it makes sense why he's flying off into the ocean. If it were Kuro, it's like, all right, he's dead.
Yeah. All right. Well, getting into it, the roar of 2 million rebels coming to Alubarna is so massive that it's actually shaking the cannonballs.
Like, can you imagine just like the force of 200 people or 2 million people on like horseback just like rumble. And I love like you hear it with the scale of the sound effects, and I didn't mention it, but in the last chapter, like the sound effects were smaller to denote that the rebels were sort of further away. They were sort of like, we hear them, but they're far away. But now, when you have like the close-ups, it's just like it's just good comics.
Yeah, and there's such great symbolism here. Is this one girl and her bird standing before this massive city, and then looking ahead at this massive army, and she's put herself in the middle, not looking really all that worried. Karoo is terrified, which understandable.
Yes. And I also love, like, again, Oda using obviously this is something that the English letterer made sure to maintain with the sizing of the sound effects. So I'm going to imagine that they are probably the same in Japanese, but the scale of the sound effects versus, like, you see, like, just like Vivi's speech balloon, like she's yelling, but there's just like 2 lines in it. Like the sound effects are like overpowering her speech. And I think that's just a really effective way to sell just like how loud it is and how hard she is trying to scream at them to stop.
Yeah. And Koza's shouting out orders, ready to go. She's trying to let them know that it's all a setup. And then all of a sudden, a cannon goes off. Koza's like, wait, somebody was standing over there. It's like, no, don't be ridiculous. It's just, they're shooting at us. And this dust cloud is kicked up ahead of her. It's like, wait, what? Why did the Royal Army do that? And even Chaka's yelling at this guy. I never gave the order to fire the cannon. He's like, oh, sorry, sir, my hand slipped. And it's a freaking Baroque Works member. It's like,
I love that. Oh, I'm sorry. Just like revealing the tattoo on his arm. Oh, my hand slipped.
Yeah. You'd think Chaka would notice that.
We're just like,
because he knows Baroque Works is behind this at this point.
Right. Like, I don't know. He's homeboy here is not giving a single effort to try to hide who he is.
No, he is not. It's a nice convenient way for the audience to immediately realize. But man, I remember, honestly, these minor members of the Baroque Works causing so many issues throughout Alabasta that just frustrates you. And Oda knows how to just really dig into you, especially like this is one of the
good timing apparently.
Yeah, they really know what they're doing. They noticed, nobody commented on Vivi being there, but this guy happened to see this.
Yep, and it was like, all right, time to be a nuisance.
This guy honestly deserves a raise because he did something even the numbers weren't able to do. So good on him. But yeah, just that panel of Koza racing past as Vivi is trying to scream,
and I love that he kind of is like, huh, what was that? It kind of goes by a little bit, but he doesn't register.
We get that one major Koza And then again, you're talking about lettering. Her lines are just so drowned out. It's just there's no words. It's just a line going down. It's very well done. And she sees Koza goes past. It's like, wait, no, stop. And that's when they get hit from behind and get like, Karoo.
Yeah. The way that he shows just like this utter stampede is like seeing Vivi just in the middle of that, like getting knocked down. You're just like, oh my god, there's so many horses and people. It's like, oh geez.
And you see the bloodied hand on the ground. It's like, oh dear, this is not good. The cannons fire. The people are storming the steps, and it's just again a massive spread that shows just the stakes of this battle. It's like, dear God.
So this is some good comic making that I want to point out here. This is like there's a concept in like I think it came from like TV and filmmaking, but it is also effective for comics called the 180 degree rule. I don't know if you're aware of it.
I'm not certain.
It's basically this concept where you want to make sure the audience knows like who is where, that you want to make sure that if you can imagine like a physical camera and like a 180 degree, just like a straight line going through, that the camera should not pass this line, so that like characters who are on one side stay on that same side. So like for example here, because we have like this big clash between the rebels and the Royal Army, and so the rebels in this like this clash, they are always depicted on being on the right side of like the panel, and the Royal Army is always on the left. So no matter like where the camera angle changes, because you have some shots where they're kind of like from above or below, but like even though it's really chaotic, like the action, you can still follow it because you kind of are subconsciously being told like the rebels are going this way and they are always going this way. And I think that's just really well done.
I didn't even notice that. I mean, it's so well done, and just like it's a sign of like if it's done well, you don't notice.
Exactly, yeah, and I appreciate it here because a lot of big encounters in One Piece can get really messy, but this is an example I think of where just like the basics never go out of style. Like it's a rule for a reason, and you can break it if you know what you're doing. But this is just I think a really brilliant example of like just being able to show and sort of make sure the reader is able to follow along without having to think about it.
Yeah,
it's comics.
It's a good plan.
I love comics.
Yeah, it's great. And to see the fighting actually has started, and then Vivi getting up from a very, very injured Karoo who shielded her.
Oh
man, Karoo he
really earns his stripes in these this batch of chapters.
Oh yeah, he does. He is just working his butt off. Like he's been sort of a coward up to this point, sort of a joke, but here he is just MVP almost. And
I love that like seeing Vivi basically get and Karoo basically get trampled, and she's just like she says she's going to stop it no matter how many times she gets knocked down. And just that close up of her just saying like, I learned to never give up while I was aboard that ship. And it's just like that's just some good friendship right there.
And then Usopp shows up on a horse telling her to hop on, but then we go like it's just that quick panel. We're back, and you know we had Usopp and Eyelashes against Bon Clay.
He clobbered us in about 2 seconds.
Yes, 1 second each. Just both of them beat up because Sanji came. They're asking what he's doing here. Is apparently their ducks came calling for help, so he assumed Mr. 2 got away, and it's like, crap, she's in danger.
Yeah, and we can already put 2 and 2 together at this point.
Oh yeah, but again, we get another wonderful moment for the crew. Actually, not quite yet.
Was here.
It's close. Okay. It's not quite yet. But I think even if they didn't have this, the line "forget that bird, it's a goner."
Yeah,
it's like she distinctly remembers Usopp always saying Karoo.
I love stuff like that where you have this person would never say that. You're obviously an imposter.
Yeah,
and the reveal comes fairly quick. I'm glad they didn't sort of drag that out.
I like that he just says, "Are you down to me? Look," and she's like, "It's not him," even though she's showing the bandage. I'm sure that's like, huh. I mean, you think it'd be the line, but the bandage not confirming it for her is interesting.
Yeah,
but some good shading on Bon Clay.
Oh yeah, that's very intimidating.
It's like I wonder what gave me away. Yeah. But then we get back into the ridiculousness of like, hey, Swan Dash.
Swan Dash. What a way to end the chapter.
Yeah, seriously. Oh, Mr. 2, you are something else.
What
as we'll get into. naturally, they're going to make a tough one. Yeah, so Vivi hasn't quite pulled it off yet, but we'll see how that all develops. And Usopp might have been matched against Mr. 2, but did not work out so well.
1 second each.
Yeah. Time for chapter 183, Squadron Reader Karoo. It's like, man, Karoo, again, MVP here.
Absolute MVP.
But before we get to that, here's the confirmation that it was indeed Hachi. It's called Hachi's Walk on the Sea Floor. Let's go home. And we got a very bandaged up Hachi, looking a lot better.
Yeah, he's so happy to be home.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I mean, other than the fact that he went along with Arlong's plans and was kind of involved in a lot of this stuff, he's a happy boy. It's hard to be mad at Hachi.
He's just a lovable idiot. There are a lot of lovable idiots in One Piece.
Like, he's done a lot of bad things, but it's just, man, it's how can you not... That smile. But real quick, we got a flashback explaining why Vivi ran off so quick. Because again, Zoro with the plan. He's like, okay, that's one guy can impersonate people perfectly, so he could show up at any time. So if anybody's acting suspicious, have them remove their bandage and show the symbol underneath. If they don't do it, they're an imposter.
Yeah, as Sanji says, it's the double bluff.
That's why I think the whole Duck Squadron plan was Zoro, because he came up with this, and that's really good.
Him and Sanji in particular have just been really great at outsmarting Baroque Works.
Yeah, it really shows they're smart,
Yeah.
so not just muscleheads. But Karoo, bleeding, wobbly, not feeling it, is just running from...
What a war hero.
I know.
Just, he's bleeding out. I love, well, they're, trying to run away. I love this, like, you could see Mr. 2 in the background. Just catching up, belaying in the background.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
He's like, wait, I'm going to eat you. It's like, okay, this is a little odd. It's like, and Vivi's like, oh, Karoo, don't force yourself. I'll fight him. He's actually running towards the wall. But rather than go up the steps where all the fighting's happening, he runs straight up the damn wall.
Up the wall. Look, like, holy crap.
Like, my God. That's amazing. And he has so much momentum, he actually flies back away from the wall until he does a little bit of flap to catch on and makes it. It's like, damn, wow. Karoo.
And I love even Bon Clay eyes popping out of the head. Like, what? I mean, that was my reaction. Like, dang, Karoo.
Yeah. And of course, Mr. 2 showing how ridiculous he is.
Yeah, he could just climb straight up.
Yep, climb straight up is like, nothing is impossible for this swan. Releve of blood, sweat, and tears, and just jams his feet in so he can make his way up it. It's just, I love how it combines this intimidating but also ridiculous aspect of...
It's ridiculous, it's hype, it's heartfelt, all at the same time.
Mm-hmm. It's great.
Wow, and then, what an incredible scene.
And then the transition to Vivi seeing the fighting, seeing the people cutting each other down.
Is that her blood, or is...
That's somebody else's blood.
Somebody is bleeding. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just so raw.
Yeah. It's rough, and Karoo then has to cut through the mob, and the rebels haven't reached the heart of the city. We have to find Shaka. That's our best shot. Speaking of shot... Freaking Karoo gets shot, and he's like...
He's still going.
Eye clenched shut, bleeding out the mouth, running through the crowd. This poor bird. Like,
I feel bad that I forgot how crucial Karoo was to this plan. Like, he is pulling his weight.
I honestly forgot this so much, and it's so heartbreaking. The facial expressions that Oda puts on Karoo breaks your heart.
It does. Just like his eyes straining, like you can
Yeah, and he's telling her to just move on, keep going. And it seems to be all over until Cowboy, our man, shows up with a vicious kick.
A headbutt. And then I already forgot his name, but the other one gets like a good kick in the face.
Yeah, the Cowboy gets the kick in the face, the other one with the Viking helmet gets the headbutt in the stomach. And they take him down. Man, Sanji here once again.
Boy, with just the best entrances.
Yeah, he is. There we go. And it's just saying, all right, Vivi, rebels can still be stopped, right? And Karoo, you're a real man. And you other two, you're dismissed. And Sanji's like, time for me to deal with the swan.
Oh, boy. And really, what a perfect matchup when you think about it, considering they're both kick focused.
Yeah, the karate. So it's like, okay, this is the matchup that you would have expected. But I love how he had a little bit of a swerve before we reached this point to just sort of...
It wasn't as straightforward as you would have thought.
Yeah, it helps that away. And even then, the first thing that Sanji says is, because it's the first time Mr. Two's seen him. And first things first, you have our sniper's goggles. Give them back.
Oh man, the cross-legged. I remember this fight. We're not going to cover it in this episode, but I remember this fight being awesome.
Yeah, there's some fun moments in it, and
oh man,
unfortunately Sanji loses the glasses, so he's no longer Mr. Prince. He's Sanji right now, and it's a top flight sea cook versus a top flight swan.
The banter between these two, oh man,
it's good.
And I love that pose of Bon Clay taking the karate pose and Sanji with his leg up. It was just, oh man,
yeah, it's good so stuff, because we got to remember that Bon Clay is incredibly tall.
Oh yeah,
so it's very interesting here. But it's time to move the action over to the southeast gate where Chopper was where Chopper is and Sanji was, as Usopp has gone to meet up with him, and he's asking like, okay, where's Mr. Four and his partner? Chopper's not looking so good.
Yeah,
apparently close by.
The fight's already begun.
So we find out that they're underground because Miss Merry Christmas is a human mole thanks to the Diggy Diggy fruit, which is just a wonderful name.
It's just great. It's great.
And all you find out is Mr. Four is a cleanup hitter, and he has a dog that works for him, which we have not seen whatsoever. It's like,
yes. Well, I love the build up with this gag where, Chopper says that and like multiple times. Usopp is like, what?
Yeah. He's like, I don't get what you're talking about. And he's like, duck. And all of a sudden,
dodge.
A ball comes. Yeah, exactly. Baseball comes out of nowhere. Here comes Mr. Four out of a hole, hits it back.
That close up of the ball just at the tip of Usopp's nose, and then it explodes.
Yeah, it's just that tick and then the explosion. The way to end the chapter is like, oh geez.
Yeah,
we get to see what Mr. Four and Miss Merry Christmas are really all about.
I completely forgot about the baseball theming.
I remembered the baseball theming. I remembered Miss Merry Christmas being a mole woman. Forgot about the dog.
Yeah. The dog was the part I remembered, actually.
Oh, really? It's funny what we remember and don't. We do have an SBS. Nothing too crazy here, other than a reader saying, I went to a flower shop and saw that they were selling crocus seeds. Does this have any connection to the character of Crocus? And all he says is that in the language of flowers, the crocus symbolizes trust. So that's where he got the name.
Oh,
plus, he looks like a
neat
flower thanks to his fringes and hair. So that's neat. I guess let's go ahead and just move on to chapter 184, MOLETOWN Block 4. These names, title. I swear.
Yep.
And we get Hachi rescuing a panda shark.
Yeah, it's kind of taking a little hook out of him. It feels like a premise of a SpongeBob episode waiting to happen.
Yeah, it really does. It's Squidward.
Yeah.
It's nice Squidward. That's what it comes down to. But I like that this allows for a different setting where we're just always underneath the seafloor and seeing just these ridiculous fish. Like, this allows Oda to keep up his animal theming. Just with the story.
He's loving. I'm sure he's loving this.
Oh yeah, he is. Well, going into the chapter itself, we have a nice little map here where we see the 5 gates into Alubarna. But currently we're at the southeast gate where Mr. Four and Miss Merry Christmas are taking on Usopp and Chopper. Yes. And yeah, they're a little exploded at the moment, but they're still alive. And he's like, what the heck was that? It's like I said, Mr. Four is a cleanup hitter with a dog. And like I said, I don't understand what that means. And then,
I love this reveal.
And then here's the dog, Lasso, Mr. Four's favorite gun, who has a slight code. It's a dog gun.
Yeah, I just... One Piece always keeps you on your toes, man.
It really does, especially because upon first looking at this thing, it looks like a dog that ate like maybe the gun fruit or something like that, or like that. Not quite that simple, as we'll get into. But Lasso here sneezes, and it's a baseball. They duck, and then here comes Mr. Four, apparently super fast when he's underground, hitting it with his baseball bat right into Usopp. Poor Usopp getting Like, he ducks under it and explodes right over him.
Yeah.
Poor Usopp getting it. He got his butt kicked by Mr. 2.
Multiple bombs to the face. I love, Usopp, I'm sorry, not Usopp, Chopper explaining that Mr. 4 must be incredibly strong to hit those bombs so easily. And I love this panel of just like Mr. 4 placing his bat like on some rubble. And it just like, it leans and then just breaks the rubble under its weight. And then Usopp's face on the next page.
He's like, oh dear God, what am I up against? Like, yeah, you get to see that strength that Crocodile was talking about. Because yeah, Mr. 4 is absolutely stronger than Mr. 3.
Yes.
And guess what? He has no devil fruit.
Yeah.
This is all his own power. He's just extremely slow-witted, but he also extremely strong because the baseballs are heavy as cannonballs that Chopper could not catch or do anything with. So this guy is just massively strong. I love how Merry Christmas shows up, whacks him over the head. He's just, again, sloth speak. She just keeps calling him a fool.
And I love this gag on the next page where Usopp's like, the mole woman. And then she's like, I haven't transformed yet. It's like, dang.
Fair enough.
Wow, that's cold.
And Usopp just pretends to faint. It's like, Chopper, you take it from here. Just bury my body at sea.
I forgot how hilarious this fight is, dear God.
They're screaming at each other. It's like, how are we supposed to fight a dog like that, a creature like that? It's like, I'm only human. It's like, I'm human too. You're a monster too. Oh yeah, well you have a beak.
Jesus Christ.
And we find out that it's not a dog who ate like a gun fruit. It's a gun who ate the mutt fruit, Dutchland's type.
Yeah. And it just, I mean, all we get from Merry Christmas here is that on the grand line, even inanimate objects can eat devil fruits. That is, just keep that in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
That's no, yeah.
It's not a one-off thing. Oda returns to this concept, and
it's just bizarre every time it comes up. But it's just like, okay, that is a thing.
I love how
that can happen.
Usopp immediately puts out the questions that readers would have. Is like, if it's originally a gun, why is it moving? Devil fruits don't have minds of their own. And she's just like, shut up. It moves and that's that.
Yeah. It's just like, all right. And that's One Piece world building in a nutshell sometimes. It's just like, it just works, okay? It just works.
Shut up. I was actually reminded the other day, it's kind of fitting, but for whatever reason, they decided to change Miss Merry Christmas's name in the 4Kids dub. I don't know if you remember this. I don't. They called her Miss Groundhog's Day.
I kind of like that better, actually.
Yeah, it fits. There's no Groundhog's Day in Japan, but the Christmas tie that she has is the only thing that doesn't quite fit. But
it doesn't like conceptually. I can see why they would make that change if they're like for some reason in that era they're like, we can't associate even anything close to like religion. I guess that's why.
Yeah, maybe it'll confuse kids if we're calling her Merry Christmas and she's a mole woman, or maybe we don't want to corrupt the concept of Christmas for kids.
Yeah, it could have been any of those things. But of course, she transforms, and then Usopp's like a penguin. so he thought she was a mole when she was untransformed, but she transforms, and he's like, oh, what?
I mean, to be fair, other than the claws and the nose, she really doesn't change much when she's in her hybrid form.
Yeah, that's a great gag.
But yeah, they all use these tunnels, and out pops Lasso. Usopp's trying to run away, and he gets blasted by this curveball.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh wow, the cleanup hitter exactly. It's a curveball. He's able to dodge it. Mr. 4 hits it back, but it's a fly ball. He's like, oh, not even cleanup hitter bats 1,000, eh? And it lands on the ground and has like a golf effect where it starts spinning and comes up right behind him.
This is such a one of the weirdest gimmick fights.
Yeah.
It's so specific. It kind of feels like something out of JoJo's almost.
You can totally see this being a JoJo enemy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And man, this team mechanic is honestly really impressive.
Yeah, and definitely, like, I love seeing Chopper like using his various forms to kind of like dodge and get out of the way. It's a good fit, I think. Like Oda uses these characters' like abilities to their fullest potential here,
and creates some fun gags here too, where Chopper's getting ready to try to take out Mr. 4, but Merry Christmas grabs hold of his legs and the ball's coming straight for him. He's like, "Oh yeah, I could shrink."
Yeah, it's some good cause and effect stuff right here. I love Merry Christmas's face. She's just like, what the and then Chopper tries to take a swing.
And she's like, and curse you Daruma doll, when she's trying to take out Mr. Four. It's really clever, just paneling and setup, and seeing these two characters who don't really have a lot of courage take on these guys, and it's pretty great.
And then, oh my god, that the bottom of the next page, where we find out why Usopp was running away.
Turns out he used the tunnels as well, and came up from underneath and hits him with the Usopp Pound, a 5-ton hammer to Mr. Four's noggin. It's like, that just impresses Miss Merry Christmas. Like, where did he get that strength? And just to see the way Mr. Four, like, sort of accordions up.
Is this Usopp's first, like, hype entrance?
I think it might be.
I love that pose he takes. He's like, I've sunk countless numbers of warships. People call me the Destroyer King.
We got Chopper going, awesome! I am Captain Usopp.
That's so good.
That is really fun to see. And
oh man,
I think we've had his like grand entrances, but it's usually with his stars.
Yeah.
This is the first
like that blast pose he takes at the end of the chapter. I adore it. Mm-hmm. Seeing Usopp get a good clean hit.
Yeah,
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I am too. That's really fun. And we got kind of a fun SBS here with all the questions where Oda is like, maybe this had an effect on Oda. Like, all the boys at school ever talk about is Nami's body. Tell them to stop. Well, I guess it seems like you're in middle school from this writing, and middle school boys spend a lot of time thinking about girls. They can't help themselves, so I can't just bring myself to scold them.
Oh, Oda.
Well, that explains some things.
Yeah. I do want to point out this next question. It's a shout out to my people who are caught up. So
really? Okay. Yeah. What would happen if you humanate the human fruit?
Yes. This answer is very fun. There's a saying we have in Japan: to become human, or rather to come of age. It means to act like an adult or to stop acting crazy. To behave the way a human being is supposed to. Maybe that's part of it, or not. Well, no. Yes, that's what I mean. Runs away. That's all I'll say.
I have
that is
no
idea. That is a very funny answer.
And then, of course, our first question about, hey, what happened to Sanji's left eye? It's like that. I remember there being so much speculation about Sanji's left eye because it was always covered, and no real answer. But it's funny to see the speculation already starting.
Well, I love that he brings in Sanji. He's like, all right, watch carefully, folks. There.
Perfect.
Like, Oda is like, wow, seriously? Holy smokes.
Yeah, who knew?
He's playing it up.
So good. All right, well, let's get to chapter 185. Oh, is that so? These chapter titles.
Yep.
And last we get of Hachi so far, this seems like it's going to be more of a cute one at this point, where he gets a thank you gift of meat from this panda shark with a refrigerator and a mermaid pinup calendar.
Yeah, of course.
Sure.
All right. Yeah. I don't. You know what? I don't want to think about it. Yeah. All right. Yep. All right. Let's move on.
Yeah, that seems like a good idea. We get into the chapter itself, and Mr. Four looks conked out, and it's like, thank you very much. I'll be signing out autographs later. He's like, and then we get our first little indication. It's like, he's not moving. Did it actually work?
Yeah, it's so great. And then, of course, he just continues on the ruse. He's like, all right, Mole, now it's your turn to get whacked by my 5-ton hammer.
And we get the freaking whack-a-mole. Of course you have to have a whack-a-mole joke.
You had to. This is obligation.
And also a wonderful continuation of this other joke. Usopp pound, Usopp pound, Usopp pound, Usopp rubber band, Usopp pound.
It took me a second to find where he was using the rubber band.
I know. I love that stupid joke.
Yes. Usopp making up stuff on the fly is one of my favorite things. I love this. He starts bluffing. Like, you must have heard about all the Baroque Works agents we've taken out. The truth is, it was all me.
Yeah.
The fact that Miss Merry Christmas is, like, actually freaked out by it. And, of course, he's, I have 8,000 people working for me. And then just, like, the next page, Chopper says, really? And then, like, that pause that Usopp has, and then that close-up
It's like, oh wow, he actually believes me. I'm not used to this. And it just goes 5 tons, and it's just, wow, incredible. He's just showing off for Chopper.
He's owning this. I love it.
Uh-huh. And then finally, Mr. Fork is just going, that hurts. It's like, but how? He got hit by a 5-ton hammer. He's a monster. It's like, wait a second. He doesn't have a bump on his head at all. There's something not right here.
Yep.
And then Lasso with a little sneeze that destroys the hammer.
It must be a light sneeze, because it just... The explosion is contained to the hammer.
That is true. And Chopper's like, it was fake. It's like, what? You think I can actually lift 5 tons? I can't even do 10 pounds.
I love the diagram here.
Yes. I love that it's frying pans in between paper mache. It's collapsible, making it easy to carry. And it's only 4.5 pounds.
I mean, and hey, like, getting hit with the force of 2 frying pans is still, like, it's gonna hurt.
Oh, yeah. That'll definitely still hurt. Just, it's not the 5 tons, but
yeah,
it'll do the trick. And this, unfortunately, makes Miss Merry Christmas a little upset.
Yeah.
So, time for Mole swimming stealth style, where she goes back into the tunnels and gets a solid slash on Usopp. Like, that looks rough.
We gotta call out this name of the attack, Mole Banana.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
Couldn't tell you. That's okay. And they're just working together. It's like, all right, Lasso, take out the reindeer, and go with 400 base hits. And Lasso sneezes more and more and more. Chopper's like, he's been waiting for this opportunity. He's not been able to nail them down and did not have enough time for his 3 minutes to figure out what to do against these two. And he's like, I got to go for it. So he finally uses his Rumble Ball and uses Brain Boost to find a way to beat them, as all of these baseballs are getting launched towards him and gets blown up. The Mole Banana comes out to chase after Usopp. It's like, geez.
Yeah, they're kind of on the back foot now.
Yeah, it's not looking good whatsoever. And even the idea, which is a solid idea, is like, oh, we're heading towards a wall. She'll bust her head on it. Perfect. And she just crashes through it.
Right. I feel like that is probably the first, like, actual, like, scale display of Miss Merry Christmas's power.
Yeah,
that panel of just like her breaking through all of like the destroyed ruins. And I hadn't brought it up, but like this is actually a really cool setting for a battle to take place in too.
Yeah, we have just enough architecture around to make it a little bit more interesting than just a sand battle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not the endless wastelands that Dragon Ball devolved into.
Yeah, that's true.
Usopp thinks like, oh, sweet, it worked. She banged her head, and like, nope, she's a mole, and just grabs a hold of him.
Jump scare, that face he makes,
so good. And honestly, I remember this hit feeling so hard in the anime, where she grabs hold of him, drags him along by the feet, and sends him straight through a wall.
Oof, yeah.
That looks brutal.
I mean, after he was already like, all right, this is what's going to happen to her. Aha, my plan is perfect. And then he gets his just desserts just right after.
Fortunately, Chopper had just enough time to figure out the weakness and decides to put a bunch of sand into Lasso's nose, which causes him to sneeze again. But if you didn't notice, he immediately points him into the mole holes. And he's just like, hey, stay away from that mole. And Usopp's just like holding his head. He's like, you don't have to tell me twice. And they're just like, what's going on?
I'm really surprised at how quickly the solution comes up.
Oh, yeah. I remember it taking a lot longer for Chopper to figure out that plan in the anime.
I'm not entirely sure if this is where the chapter ends, but I mean, they got a good hit in.
Yeah. I don't know if the fight's over yet.
Or the fight, I don't know if the fight ends here. But like that's so, like, props for Chopper.
Yeah, that's a good panel. Seeing that massive explosion, and seeing Lasso, Merry Christmas, and Mr. Four all caught up into it as they run away.
I love this exchange where Chopper here on the bottom panel is like, the weakest of MOLETOWN is that all the tunnels are connected. And then you just Usopp just dying, bleeding out his nose. Is like, oh, is that so?
It's a cool panel to end on.
Yeah. Oh, it's so we're in the thick of it. This is all of the Alabasta fights are happening right now. I can't believe it.
If this isn't over, it's going to be over soon for sure. And we'll get into the next fight. Which one that'll be, we'll have to see. But really great Vivi stuff, really great Karoo stuff, and a fun, ridiculous fight.
Way more fun than I remembered. It was, per my memory, it was the one that I was kind of like the least kind of impressed with, or I guess the one that stuck out in my mind less than the other ones did, but I was thoroughly entertained by it. It was great.
I enjoyed it. I felt it dragged a little bit, but I still feel one of the other fights dragged a little bit more for me, at least in the anime.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I remember enjoying this one just because, it's fun to see Usopp with no powers and kind of a coward trying to make it work. But, pairing with Chopper, it's a good pairing. We'll see the one I wasn't, I enjoyed, but it just felt like it dragged too much. I'm sure that's more the anime's fault.
Which happens.
Yeah, it does. But yeah, just solid go around, and man, I can't wait to read the next batch.
Yes, I'm so excited.
I'm so here for it. But good stuff. No SBS, so nothing really much else to talk about. It's just there. So With that, I believe we've said all we wanted to say about chapters 181 to 185 of One Piece. Thank you so much for listening, and you can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at BitNerd Games on YouTube, or BitNerd with an underscore at the end on Twitter. And Brandon, where can everyone find you?
I'm at Brandon Bovia on Twitter, talking about anime, manga, games, and my job. And I don't have anything in particular to plug again. So just go follow me if you're interested in what I have to say about stuff.
You might be picking up Splatoon 3, so you might be talking about that. So there you go.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I kind of forgot that was coming out tomorrow.
Yeah, it's soon. So yeah, and if you'd like to help us out more, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/Derek Bittner. That's DERRICKBITNER to listen to the next episode 3 days early. And make sure to return next time as we discuss chapters 186 to 190 of One Piece. Until then, my friends, bye.
Remember to take life one piece at a time.
Hey, Mr. Four! Mr. Four! What are you doing, moron? You moron! Go and get him instead of just standing there! Come on, let him have it already! Go now! Go on, moron! Kill him, smoke him, blow him up! Moron! Run! Now! Do it now!
Over there, it's the mole woman.
She is a moron! I haven't even changed yet! You moron!